Hey Hunters, the 0.28 update for Zero Sievert just released and it is full of some insane new features as well as changes to some established mechanics. I'm going to give you guys the rundown of the key things in this update as well as how these additions affect Zero Sievert as a whole. First things first, the new features in Zero Sievert. Version 0.28 adds radioactive rain, a new weather event that covers the entire map in a green rain. It gives you radiation poisoning based on how intense the rain is. This radiation at max is only stopped by armors with a radiation protection of 250, while lower levels are able to be mitigated by lower tier armors. Theoretically, this adds more diversity to the game, as players now need to be conscious of intaking too much radiation mid-raid. This means that armors that give radiation protection are now more viable to run instead of the current meta, which is just running class 5 or 6 armors that are more durable against bullets and just avoiding radiation zones. In its current state, I think the radiation covering the whole map is too beneficial for the player, as it kills everything on the map that is outside, so the player just needs to wear an armor that has a moderate amount of radiation protection, or wait out the rain indoors, and then clean up whatever survives, if anything even survives. I think a solution to this would be isolating the radiation rain to certain areas on the map. These areas can contain an enemy type that is immune to the radiation and protecting a loot source. This can give the player the choice of taking on the enemy type in return for a higher tier loot in that area, or avoiding it completely, while still having to worry about the enemies on the rest of the map. The next major feature added is Emission, another new weather event that creates bursts of energy waves that damage any living thing it touches. These waves can be avoided by hiding behind solid walls or indoors. You can tell an emission event is going to occur by all the crows attempting to flee the map. This is followed by the human NPCs on the map trying to run away. After the waves end, a radioactive rain will start falling at maximum intensity. While this event is insanely cool looking, it suffers from the same problem the radioactive rain suffers from. It kills almost everything outdoors on the map. This means that all a player has to do is either wear a Siva suit or hide indoors until it passes. Once the waves end, they are free to collect the loot left everywhere and leave. Now, the max intensity radioactive rain falling does inconvenience the player if they don't have a high enough radiation resistant armor, but it's a minor inconvenience for the fat loot you can get. This issue can be fixed by making the emission waves become smaller pockets that don't sweep the whole map. This prevents it from just wiping the map and forces the player to still be cautious about the emission wave and enemies still on the map. Finally, feature added is an overhaul to the key binding system, allowing players to customize their controls as they see fit. This was highly requested from the community as the default control scheme isn't for everyone. I'm glad Cabo and the Modern Wolf team are paying attention to the community and listening to the volumes of feedback they must be getting. It really is a breath of fresh air to have a development team care about making a game tailored to the community around it. Now, the rest of this update consisted of gameplay changes, quality of life improvements, and bug fixes. Out of these, the ones that stuck out to me are the radiation saving correctly when returning to the bunker, being able to pay barmen to refill your hunger and thirst, and the money spent for trader services like repairing your armor or healing being added to the global trader money pool in the bunker. The radiation saving correctly will add a new level of difficulty and character management to the game that was missing before. In the past, your radiation level would reset when you entered and exited a raid, meaning that there really wasn't a big penalty from intaking a lot of radiation in raid or eating rotten food outside of raid. Now that the player must deal with the radiation themselves, this forces the player to think twice about drinking that rotten water or eating that moldy bread. Speaking of bread and water, the next change is the ability to pay barmen to refill your hunger and thirst, a game changer in the early game since food and water are extremely expensive in the beginning of your runs. And finally, the final change, while not groundbreaking, really helps the loot goblins in all of us. All money spent on trader services like repairing armor or healing get added to the global money pool of traders, increasing the amount of loot you can sell per day, preventing your stash from getting too cluttered with loot to sell. All in all, this was a very solid update, with a focus on radiation and environmental mechanics, as well as polishing up the pre-existing gameplay loops. This game continues to show promise as we continue into 2023. Hopefully the dev team maintains this momentum, as there really isn't any game as fun as this one around currently. What do you think about this update? Leave a comment down below telling me what you like and dislike currently with the game, and what you'd like to see in the future. And as always, like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this.